Hello, I'm Bobby White, instructional designer at California College of the Arts, and today I'm going to show you a quick video on how to build a rubric so that you can use it to grade or evaluate your students' work. So I'm in a course here, and the first thing I'm going to do is go into editing mode, so turn editing on. And I'm actually going to show you a completed rubric first so you can sort of see what the goal is, and then we'll go back and walk through the steps. So I'm going to scroll down and find my assignment that I know has a rubric on it. Okay, and then from here, I'm first going to just go into the regular assignment settings. And you'll see this is where I've put the title of the assignment, all the instructions, there's an attachment, availability dates, things like that. I'm going to keep scrolling down until I get to grade. And here, I am using points, but my grading method, I chose rubric. Normally this is a simple direct grading. That just means you're going to get the point value for an assignment. But in this case, we're going to use rubric. And I actually can't get to the rubric from here. I'm just telling the assignment that I'm going to be using a rubric. And I'm actually going to go back up here and go back to the unit here where the assignment is sitting. And I'm going to click on the assignment here. So I'm actually going into the assignment. And when I do that, I'm offered this additional gear up here. And from here, I can scroll down and go to define rubric. So we're going to do this again in a minute, but just to get to the rubric, to show you the rubric that's attached to this assignment, that's how you get there. So again, we have a title for the rubric. And I chose to put the learning outcomes here at the top. And then as you scroll down, you'll start to see the grid for the rubric. So these are your criterion over here, so craft. And then these are the levels. So acceptable, developing, excellent in this case. And you can see that the points reflect sort of the different levels. So you get 10 points for this level, 20 here and 30 here. And you keep scrolling down, you have another criterion here. And there are 4 total. Now, in this case, the assignment itself was 100 points. So I wanted to be sure that all the points possible added up to 100 points. And then I broke down the other levels accordingly. You don't have to do that. Moodle will actually do the math for you. So let's say your rubric only adds up to 50 points. It will consider 50 out of 50, 100%, and it'll do the math for you. But I find that it's the most clear you can be to just set it at 100 and adjust your points to reflect that. There's a whole lot of settings here to choose from. You can read through them. I find the defaults are pretty good. So let's cancel out of that. And I'll then show you how to build one of these. So you're back in your site, you've got editing on, and I know I have editing on because I see all these little pencils and extra icons and things. And I'm gonna scroll down to where I wanna add an additional assignment. So again, a rubric is built from within an assignment. Now you can use rubrics again for another assignment. So you might want to think about that as you're building your first rubric. Is this a rubric that could be sort of standardized and used on several assignments? You can do that, but you still need to build it inside a particular assignment and then save it as a template if you want to use it for others. And I'll show you where you can choose to bring that template in if you want, or build a brand new one. So I'm going to come down here, add an activity or resource. I'm going to grab assignment and add that. And I'm going to go through the assignment piece kind of quickly because we really just want to get to the rubric part of it. So let's call this one project figure drawing. Okay, and I won't bother with instructions right now, but of course, normally you put them there, maybe an attachment. Availability and due dates and all of that we can leave for now. And I'm going to scroll down to grade. And again, I'm going to choose rubric here. So grading method is rubric. I'm still going to use points. but my grading method is going to be Rubric. And I'm going to go ahead and save and display this. I could save and return to course. So I just need to save my assignment. So my assignment is ready to go, but because I chose Rubric, it knows that I need to either create one or choose one from a template. So I could create a new one from a template if I've saved my own templates before, or I could start with a new one. So that's where you would grab one that you've used before and saved as a template. For now, I'm going to define a new one from scratch. So again, this is the name of the rubric. So you may or may not name it the same thing as the assignment. If you're working on sort of a more standard one that's going to be used more than once, it wouldn't make sense to be that specific. But in this case, I'm going to go ahead and call this one figure drawing because it's a new one just for this assignment. So description, this is where you can describe the rubric to the students. Learning outcomes might be a good place. This might be a good place to put the learning outcomes. And you're going to come down here and add your first criteria here. So I'm just going to keep these really simple. We're just going to call this one craft. And then this would be the acceptable level. I don't generally have 0 points. You could have 0 points if you wanted to have a level for people that didn't turn it in. Otherwise, you'll have to override their grade with 0. So just know that one. Developing and excellent. And we'll call that one 30. Okay. And then I would add another criterion. You see how this works. So we'll call this one visual communication. And I just keep going and I build out my grid here. Okay, and then again, just read through each one of these. They're fairly self-explanatory. This first one here is a good read, and just a little reminder in Moodle, these little question marks are always super helpful. So if you click on that, you can read more about this particular setting, but the defaults will allow for students to see the most, which I think is really useful because the student will see the rubric before they submit their assignment, which I'm going to show you next. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and save and make this one ready. You can also save it as a draft if you're working on it, which is nice. There's not a lot of places in Moodle where you can save things as draft, so I appreciate that one. So let's go now into using my original rubric that I showed you. I'm going to go in as a student. So now I'm a student, and I know I have an assignment due in this class. So I'm going to scroll to the assignment. Here it is. Of course, I've watched these videos and done the other things to prepare. I'm going to click on this assignment link here, and it'll tell me I have not attempted it yet. And then I get to read. This is the description that we saw at the beginning of the rubric. I can see the learning outcomes here, and then I can see the different criterion and the levels all broken out, and I can see exactly what's expected of me in each of these areas and the points that will be applied. So I come down here, I'm ready to add a submission. So I will drag and drop my picture here, my drawing, and save changes. Okay, now back as the instructor. So I'm back as the instructor now. Let's go ahead and turn editing off. I'll come down here to where the assignment is, and I'll click on the assignment. And when I do that, I can see that 4 out of 4 students have turned their submission in. I'm going to go ahead and click grade on these. And when I do that, let's see which student we're in here. Okay, when I do that, actually in this case, because I clicked grade, it actually opened that student's work. It created a PDF and it opened it here so that I could annotate on it, draw on it if I want to, without hurting the original. And then over on the right is where I have my rubric. Now, what's nice about this, it's a little bit of a scroll challenge. So let's see. Let me see if I can give myself more room. Okay, so when I'm ready to do the actual grading, I just clicked that to give myself a little more room. And I can just go down the boxes here and say how the student did in each one of these areas. And let's get that back so I can see that now. And I can leave overall comments here. Of course, overall feedback. I can even record feedback, things like that. If I wanted to, I could attach another file. I could allow another attempt if I felt they needed it. And I can save changes now. Okay, so that now says that it was graded. And just so you can see this, I'm gonna pop in, I'm gonna pop in as that student. I didn't do the right student. Well, the good thing is you can very quickly go to the next student with these arrows. So I'm gonna do that. And I'm gonna give myself a little more room, and we'll just give Ray like almost all the points. Okay, save changes, great. And they've been notified now. So I will go in as the student and we'll just refresh the page here. So now the student comes in, they got an email saying they got a grade on this assignment. They can come in and come down here and look at their grade at the bottom. So they keep scrolling. So now we're seeing this again. We're seeing the rubric twice. You saw it twice. This is now the rubric where the evaluation was left. So they can see what was highlighted. They can see exactly why they got the grade that they got. And their total grade was 96 out of 100. So that's about it for creating and using a rubric. It's a bit of an overview. So if you have any questions, of course, reach out to the help desk and we can help you. Have a great day.